I did not sleep well last night. Not because of anything important. I just kept turning from one side to another. The blanket was warm, but one of my feet stayed cold. I did not fix it. I let it stay that way. When I finally opened my eyes, the light from the window was already in the room. It was not too bright, just enough to make things visible. I sat up slowly. My arms felt stiff. I stretched them a little, but not too much. The room looked the same. The chair was still near the window. The notebook was still on the table. A fly was sitting on the corner of the table. It moved once, then stayed still. I didn't bother it. I stood up and walked to the window. The street was quiet. There was a new puddle near the gate, but I don't know where it came from. It didn't rain. Maybe someone washed something outside. Maybe not. I sat in the chair. I looked out. At 8:40, Amma called me for breakfast. I didn't reply immediately. Then I said, "Coming." I got up and went to the kitchen. There were 2 slices of bread on a plate. They had butter on them. Butter wasn't melted. Tea was hot. Abba was reading the same newspaper. He coughed once. Amma asked him if he took his medicine. He nodded. I didn't say anything. I chewed each bite slowly. The crust was hard. The middle was soft. It didn't matter much. After breakfast, I came back and sat at the window again. At 9:06, the boy with the red bicycle passed. Today, he was not wearing a jacket. Maybe it wasn't cold enough for him. His cycle looked the same. The bell didn't ring. His posture didn't change. A crow landed on the gate. It made no sound. Just looked around and then flew off again. I followed it with my eyes until it disappeared behind the neem tree. The tree looked dry today. At 10:30, the children did not come. Maybe they stayed inside. It was not hot or cold outside. It's just in between. There was no noise, no footsteps, no bouncing ball. I stared at the empty street for a while. I reached for the notebook. I opened it. The last line I wrote was 2 days ago. I read it again. Today feels like yesterday, but not exactly. Just mostly. I thought about writing something new, but nothing came. I tapped the pencil on the table. Then I closed the notebook. It stayed closed the whole day. Around 11:50, a man rode past on a motorcycle. I didn't recognize him. His helmet was black and shiny. He didn't look left or right. The motorcycle wasn't loud. It moved smoothly and left no mark. Lunch was chickpeas and 1 roti. Ma said they were left over from yesterday. I nodded. I ate them without comment. The chickpeas were soft, a little oily, but not too much. Oma asked if I wanted more. I said no. After lunch, I sat in the same chair again. The sunlight had moved slightly. It was touching the edge of the window frame now. I watched a dust particle float through it. Just one, then another, then nothing. At 2:45, the peanut vendor came. I heard his bell. It was the same sound it always makes. I didn't go outside. I didn't want peanuts. I never do. The sound faded after a while. At 3:15, the postman passed by. He was talking on the phone. I couldn't hear what he was saying. He didn't stop at our house. No letter, no paper, no message. Just footsteps and words I couldn't understand. The neighbor's gate opened briefly. Someone came out, put a plastic bag near the trash bin, and went back inside. The door closed gently. The bag didn't move. A dog came and sniffed it, then walked away. At 4:30, I stood up to stretch. My back was sore. I turned slightly to one side, then the other. Nothing cracked. Nothing improved. I sat back down. The children came out at 5:10, 3 of them. One was holding a plastic bottle. He kicked it for a few minutes, then got bored. They stood near the tree and talked. I couldn't hear what they said. Then they walked away. The boy with the red bicycle returned. This time he had something in his hand. Maybe a school notebook. I couldn't see clearly. He passed by as usual. The cycle chain clicked once. Then it stopped. It has gathered dust and a few leaves. It hasn't moved in over a week. Maybe no one remembers it anymore. Dinner was rice and yogurt. The rice was plain. No spices. Just boiled. The yogurt was a little sour. I ate quietly. Abba finished first. He went to the other room. Amma said the rice was a little hard today. I nodded. She didn't say anything else. At 7:40, I heard the call to prayer again. Same sound, same rhythm. No. I looked at the ceiling while it played. There's a small brown mark near the corner. I think it's been there for a long time. I never asked about it. The notebook was still on the table, closed. I thought about opening it again, but I didn't. There was nothing to write. The day was slow. The same things happened. Same things didn't happen. At 9 p.m., the neighbors' lights turned off. Their curtains were drawn. No shadows inside. No movement outside. The cat didn't come today. I looked for her twice. Once near the gate, once near the tree. She wasn't there. At 9:30, I turned off my light, sat in the dark. The street light was on, the same pale orange light. The neem tree's leaves made small shadows on the wall. I looked out for a while longer, then I lay down. The notebook was still closed. I didn't sleep. So one morning, I woke up, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't hear the call to prayer. Usually I wake up with it, but that day, I slept through it, so I opened my eyes before anyone called me. I didn't know the time, didn't check the clock immediately. I just stared at the ceiling. It was just the same ceiling. Light gray. There was a cobweb in the corner, but it wasn't new. It's been there for weeks. I never clean it. The blanket was half off me. One arm was cold, the other warm. I lay still for 5 more minutes. I thought about getting up. Then I got up. The floor was cold, but not freezing. I walked to the window, opened the curtain. The light was soft, not bright, not dark. Just there. The street looked the same. A plastic bag was stuck to the gate. It fluttered a little, then stopped. I watched it for a while, then I turned on the fan. It made a new sound today. A low, dull clicking. It didn't sound serious. It's just a soft tap every 4 or 5 seconds. I listened to it. It wasn't fast. It's not slow. Just the same click, then nothing, then click again. I didn't turn it off. I just let it run. At 8:35, Amma called for breakfast. I said, okay. Double quotes the same word I say every day. The breakfast was 2 rotis and leftover sabzi. I chewed slowly. The rotis were slightly cold. The sabzi had no spice. I didn't complain. Abba was reading the paper. He coughed again. I've stopped counting how often. He said something about the power company. I didn't respond. Amma said she would boil water later. I nodded. After breakfast, I returned to the room. The fan was still making the sound. Click, then silence, then click again. I sat by the window. At 9:05, the red cycle boy passed. His coat was open. It wasn't windy. He was going a little faster than usual. The bell rang once when he went over a bump. He didn't look up. A white cat walked by. Not the neighbor's cat, a thinner one. Its fur looked dirty, crossed the street and disappeared under a parked van. The plastic bag was still stuck on the gate. At 10:30, 2 children appeared. Kate, Tilly to today. They walked slowly. They didn't talk loudly. One of them picked up a rock and threw it at the tree. It missed. They stood around, then walked away. I opened the notebook, then closed it. I didn't even hold the pencil. Around 11:40, someone honked a horn outside. Just once. Not a loud honk. Just enough to notice, then silence again. The fan was still clicking. I thought about turning it off. But didn't the lunch was potato and peas? 2 rotis? Amma asked me if I was feeling okay. I said yes. She didn't ask again. Abba was not home during lunch. No one said why. I didn't ask. After lunch, I sat again at the window. I adjusted the curtain so the light wouldn't fall directly on my eyes. The fan kept making the same sound. Click. Silence. Click again. At 2:30, I saw someone washing their motorcycle across the road. He used a small blue bucket. The water splashed on the ground. Then he used a cloth. It looked like an old shirt. He wiped the bike slowly. It took about 20 minutes. Then he went inside. The motorcycle stayed parked there. It looked cleaner, but only a little. At 3:15, I shifted in my seat. My leg was getting sore. I moved it, then placed it back the same way. I blinked a few times. Nothing changed. The postman passed by at 3:30. No letters. He didn't even look at our gate, just walked past. I didn't expect anything anyway. At 4 o'clock, the power went out. The fan stopped. So did the sound. The room became quieter. I sat without the fan for a while. At 4:35, the electricity came back. The fan turned on by itself. The clicking started again. I listened. Click. Pause. Click. The children returned around 5 p.m. They were 5 in total today. One of them had a plastic bat. He hit the ball once. It went into the drain. I stood there looking at it, then walked away. No one laughed. I didn't write anything in the notebook. It stayed closed on the table. The plastic bag was still stuck to the gate. At 5:45, I stood up and walked to the kitchen. I poured myself water. It was not cold, not warm, just in between. I drank slowly. Dinner was later than usual, to 7:30. Chana dal and rice. Abba had returned by then. He was quiet. Amma served the food. We ate in silence. The fan in the dining area was not making any sound. After dinner, I came back to my room. I sat in the chair again. I looked out. A man was walking a dog on a leash. The dog sniffed a wall, then moved on. I watched them until they turned the corner. At 8:30, I turned off the main light. The fan kept running. The clicking continued. Click, click, click. I watched the shadows on the wall. They moved a little when a car passed. At 9:15, the neighbor's window opened. A woman took out a bedsheet and shook it once, and closed the window. I couldn't see her face clearly. I sat still. I thought about writing something again. I opened the notebook, then just stared at the blank page, and closed it. At 9:45, I turned off the fan. The room became silent. Then I lay down, faced the wall, and closed my eyes. That's all for today. See you next time. What do you think? We'll keep trying until we get it right. Okay, so I'm a writer based in New Delhi, and this is a story I recently published in a literary magazine. It was part of a flash fiction challenge. So very short stories, very strict word count, and I had a lot of fun writing this one. So let me tell you a little bit about the process. First, some logistics. The story has 14 scenes. It's 1047 words long. It was written in July and August 2021, so the summer monsoon season in India, and it was published online. The story follows a young narrator who lives with his family, his mother and his father. The father is unnamed. The mother is called Amma, which means mother in Malayalam. And the protagonist, the child, is unnamed too. Throughout the story, he uses I, me, my, but never actually says his name. I wanted to leave the identity open. You could call him a son, a child, a boy, but maybe don't call him by a proper name. Now, he is about 7 or 8 years old, I'd say, because he eats breakfast with his parents. He does household work, he studies, but he also has a school bag and goes to school. So not an infant, not a teenager. And he lives in a small house in a city in India, but we don't really know where, because it could be anywhere. The action takes place within the house and the street outside. So that's pretty much the setting. As for the plot, well, there isn't one. That's what makes it flash fiction. There's no plot, no conflict, no resolution. Instead, we have 14 vignettes, moments in the life of this child, moments in the life of a child. If you want to be technical, these are epiphanies. Epiphany is a moment of sudden revelation or insight, and each scene offers the narrator a new insight into life. In this case, a slice of life. Each scene lasts exactly 1 minute, and the minutes are important. The story starts at 7:50 a.m., and then it moves from 1 minute to the next. This makes the story cinematic. Think of it as a series of shots, set pieces, rather than a plot. That was a conscious choice on my part. I've been working on short stories, stories without sentences or paragraphs, and this was a step towards that. Minimalism is a recurring theme in our literature right now, and I wanted to explore that. The language is simple, mostly conversational, just how a child would speak. But sometimes, just sometimes, the narration turns poetic. Here's an example. The air was dry. A small fly kept buzzing near the curtain. It flew in circles, then disappeared behind the shelf. I didn't follow it, so sometimes it's deadpan, sometimes it's lyrical. The point is to capture the music of the language, the flow of it, the feel of it. Now, why did I write this story? Flash fiction forces you to be economical, to be concise, to strip away all the unnecessary details and focus only on what is essential. In this case, the essence of childhood, the essence of life. I wanted to capture the monotony of routine, the beauty in the ordinary, the poetry in everyday existence. Think about it. A child wakes up, eats, observes, waits, watches the world go by. This is what this child does, and he finds joy in it. Not passive joy, active joy. When I was writing this story, I thought about my own childhood, the summers in Calcutta, the monsoons in Delhi, the lazy evenings spent watching the world go by. Of course, things were different then. We didn't have phones or the internet. But I think the spirit of childhood is the same everywhere. Here's another thing. Childhood is about observation. A child doesn't do much. He or she mostly observes. This story is about observation. So if you read it carefully, you will notice that nothing happens. Things are not dynamic. They don't move forward. Life does not evolve. The story does not grow. It stays exactly where it started, which is the point. Childhood is not about growth. It's about discovery. A child discovers the world around him, the people, the objects, the sounds. He collects data. He stores it away. And one day, when he is older, perhaps he'll use it, this data, this information. But right now, it's enough to observe, to experience. Let me share one more thing about the title. It's not an original idea. In fact, it's a famous novel by a Nobel laureate, and that's in brackets. I loved that novel when I read it. I was about 12 years old. It had such an impact on me that I named my publishing house after it. And every year in July, I read the book again. So that's my tribute to an amazing piece of literature. And finally, if you want to write stories like this, here's what I suggest. Step 1, read widely. Read everything and anything. Step 2, try to emulate your favorite authors. Imitation is the best form of flattery. Write stories in the style of your favorite writers. And step 3, experiment. Try different styles, different techniques, different forms. For example, this story was written in one go. I didn't plan it. I didn't write it over several days or weeks. I just sat down and wrote it in one sitting. Writing is hard work. Sometimes you have to push yourself. Sometimes you have to wait for inspiration. The important thing is to keep writing. Write every day. Even if you can't finish a story, even if you can't publish anything, just keep writing. It will get better. With practice, it will improve. And one day, just like this story, it might find a reader. Hello everyone. This is a story about a boy who didn't speak for an entire day. Let's see how it goes. It was a Monday morning. The boy woke up and stretched. He was getting better at waking up at the right time. It was still dark outside, but he knew it was around 7:50. Usually he would check the clock on the wall, but today he didn't. The room was familiar. Nothing had changed since yesterday. The shawl was still folded neatly at the end of the bed. He pulled it over himself and sat up. The fan was already on. It was making its usual sound. Not loud, not soft, just there. He looked at the ceiling for a while, not really seeing anything. But after a while, he got out of bed. The floor felt cold on his feet. He didn't wear slippers. The tiles were smooth and a bit wet. It was probably from yesterday. He walked to the window and opened the curtain halfway. The light outside seemed normal, not too bright, not too dark. The sky looked a bit faded, like an old gray cloth. He thought about pulling the curtain back fully, but he decided not to. He wasn't sure why. At 8:30, Amma called out for breakfast. He didn't reply. That was part of the plan. He stood up and walked out of the room. Downstairs in the kitchen, he sat down on his chair. On the table was a slice of bread and a bowl with some leftover dal. He started chewing slowly. The bread was a bit hard on the edges, but the dal was good. It wasn't too thick, not too thin. He dipped a piece of bread in the dal. It tasted fine. He drank some tea. It was warm, not hot. Then he set the cup down. Abba was sitting in his chair reading a newspaper. He looked tired. He rubbed his eyes with the back of his hand. Amma was cleaning a plate with a damp cloth. She hummed a tuneless song. No one said anything. He finished eating, stood up and walked away. He went back to his room. In the chair near the window, he sat down. Today he didn't bring the notebook. Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. He just sat there watching the street. At 9:05, the boy on the red cycle passed by again. He wore the same black shoes from yesterday. The rest of his clothes were different. This time he had a blue shirt on. It had white lines on it. He hadn't seen that one before. The boy didn't slow down. He didn't even wave. He just kept going straight ahead. The bell of the bicycle didn't ring. A crow landed near the gate. It looked around, then pecked at the ground twice. Then it flew away. He didn't move. He kept looking straight ahead. At 10:30, a small group of children appeared. They were playing. There were 4 of them. One of them had a stick. He was drawing something in the dirt in front of the house. The others were talking and laughing. He couldn't hear what they were saying. They stayed for about 10 minutes. Then they left. He didn't feel anything when they disappeared, just saw them go. He continued looking ahead. At 11:45, he saw the postman pass by. He was holding a letter in his hand. He handed it to the neighbor. Then he walked past their house. The postman scratched his head once while walking. That was all. The boy kept looking ahead. At noon, he went to the bathroom. It was small, and the walls were a bit dirty. He washed his face with cold water. He didn't turn on the light. There was enough sunlight coming through the window. He looked in the mirror for a few seconds. He saw his own face looking back. It looked normal, the same as always. He didn't try to make a face or smile. He just looked, and he washed his hands. Lunch was rice and potato curry again. Emma placed the plate in front of him. He nodded once. She didn't say anything. She just walked away. He ate slowly. The curry had a lot of salt today. He didn't say anything. After he finished eating, he stood up. Again, he went back to the window. The street was still. The cartons that had been outside the neighbor's gate for 2 days were still there. No one had moved them. At 2 o'clock, a man walked by. He had never seen him before. The man was tall and thin. He wore a cap. He looked around slowly. He didn't stop. He just kept walking. The boy watched him until he turned the corner. Then he looked away. At 3:10, he heard someone cutting something nearby, maybe wood. The sound was steady. Ch-kay, shay, shay, shay. Then it stopped. He didn't get up. He kept sitting. The sound of the fan was there. It wasn't clicking anymore. It's just a steady hum. He watched the curtain move slightly because of the breeze. It moved a little, then stopped, then moved again. At 4:15, he picked up the notebook. He opened it to the last page. It said, "The fan works again." He looked at the page for a while, then he closed the book. He didn't write anything new. At 5 o'clock, the children came back. They played hopscotch near the gate. He counted. They played for 7 minutes. Then one of them dropped something. It rolled toward the rickshaw. They all went silent for a moment. Then they left. At 5:20, the boy on the red cycle returned. He had his school bag with him. It looked heavy. He didn't look tired, just quiet. He passed by without changing speed. The sun was lower now. The shadows of the houses were longer. The light on the wall had turned orange. Dinner was sabzi and roti. Amma placed the plate in front of him. He ate in silence. Abba didn't eat with them. He was listening to the news in the other room. Amma asked if he wanted more, but he shook his head again. She picked up the plate and walked away. After dinner, she asked, "Are you okay? You haven't said a word all day." He looked at the glass of water. He took a sip. Then he stood up. He walked back to his room. The fan was still on. The street was silent. The cartons were still outside. He sat on the bed for a long time. He didn't take out the notebook. He just sat in the dark. The curtains weren't moving anymore. He closed his eyes. It was 9:40. The fan was still running. The street was still. The curtains were still. He didn't speak all day, and no one said anything after that. So that's the story. I hope you liked it. What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more stories like this. Thanks for watching. We are so glad you're here. We have something special for you, something that's been years in the making. If you remember, we made a video on this story. It wasn't a big hit, it was okay. But the story itself, well, it kept growing in our minds. So we decided to write more. We spent months working on this, carefully building the world, thinking about all the small details. We hope it shows. You can read along with the text at the top or listen to the audio. Either way is fine. Here we go. The city smells like old books and wet dogs. The streets are narrow, the buildings are tall, and the cafes are filled with people writing stories. The worn cobblestones hold centuries of secrets, whispering tales of love and loss, dreams and desires. Old men with twinkling eyes sit on park benches, sharing stories over cups of steaming tea. Lovers stroll hand in hand under the glow of gaslight, their laughter echoing through the ancient squares. Street vendors sell their wares with animated gestures, their voices blending into a rich tapestry of sound. Musicians play lively tunes that dance on the wind, inviting passers-by to join in the melody. In the bustling marketplace, merchants hawk their colorful wares, their banter mixing with the aroma of spices and fresh bread. The rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer echoes through the town, steady beat accompanying the laughter of children playing in the fountains. Each corner holds a new surprise, each face a story waiting to be discovered. There's a worn leather armchair tucked away in the corner of a dusty antique shop, its velvet cushions inviting weary travelers to sink in and rest their bones. Above it hangs a tarnished mirror, reflecting 1,000 untold stories. Nearby, a grandfather clock ticks silently, its pendulum swinging rhythmically, as if keeping time with the heartbeat of the city itself. The shop is filled with relics of a bygone era, each item whispering tales of elegance and nostalgia. Sunlight streams through the window, illuminating motes of dust dancing in the air, creating a sense of timeless tranquility. Outside, the city comes alive with the murmur of human voices, the clatter of horse-drawn carriages, and the gentle hum of daily life. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee drifts from a nearby cafe, mingling with the sweet scent of pastries and the earthy smell of old books. Down a winding cobblestone street, a hidden courtyard beckons with the promise of serenity. Nestled between towering buildings, it offers a tranquil escape from the bustling city. In the center, a weathered stone fountain gurgles softly, its water cascading over moss-covered stones. Lush greenery spills over the edges, softening the rough texture of the ancient walls. Wrought iron benches invite weary travelers to pause and reflect, finding solace in the peaceful atmosphere. The air is alive with the fragrance of blooming flowers, creating a sensory delight that rejuvenates the soul. Hidden pathways wind through dense foliage, revealing secluded nooks perfect for quiet contemplation or stolen kisses. Deep in the heart of the city, a majestic cathedral stands as a testament to faith and history. Its towering spires pierce the heavens, while stained-glass windows depicting biblical scenes bathe the interior in vibrant colors. The scent of incense mingles with the echo of distant organ music, creating an ethereal atmosphere that stirs the soul. Within its hallowed halls, generations have prayed, finding solace and strength. The intricate carvings on the vaulted ceilings and the solemn expressions of the statuesque gargoyles speak of a time when artisans poured their hearts into every detail. As the sun sets, the sky transforms into a canvas of fiery hues, casting long shadows that dance across the ancient stones. Visitors gather in awe, witnessing the interplay of light and shadow, as if nature herself is paying homage to this sacred space. In a world where magic lingers in the air, a hidden bookshop beckons with the promise of enchantment. Tucked away down a secret alley, its facade adorned with climbing vines and twinkling lights, the shop invites curious souls to step inside. Behind the counter, an enigmatic bookseller with twinkling eyes and a mischievous grin guides eager customers through a labyrinth of literary wonders. The air is thick with the scent of aged paper and leather-bound volumes, each holding untold tales of adventure and romance. Maps, globes, and telescopes adorn the shelves, hinting at faraway lands and celestial mysteries. As twilight descends, the bookshop becomes a sanctuary for dreamers and romantics, offering a respite from the ordinary and a portal to realms beyond imagination. In the heart of the city, a grand opera house stands as a beacon of artistic brilliance. Its ornate facade adorned with statues of legendary performers, the theater has witnessed centuries of captivating performances. Inside, plush red velvet seats beckon theater enthusiasts to lose themselves in the magic of live entertainment. As the curtain rises, the stage comes alive with the brilliance of actors, the soaring notes of the orchestra, and the dramatic lighting illuminating their every move. From tragic love stories to comedic farces, the Opera House has hosted them all, leaving audiences spellbound and yearning for more. Between acts, patrons sip on glasses of champagne, discussing the latest gossip and the dazzling display of talent they've just witnessed. The energy is electric, a celebration of creativity and the transformative power of storytelling. In a hidden corner of the city, a bohemian art studio awaits discovery. Sunlight streams through the large windows, illuminating a haven filled with creativity. Easels adorned with unfinished masterpieces stand proudly, surrounded by an array of art supplies, each waiting to be used in creating the next breathtaking work of art. Paints, plattered aprons, and brushes resting on a nearby table tell tales of artistic passion. The walls are adorned with an eclectic mix of artwork, showcasing the diverse talents of the artists within. Bohemian rugs and comfortable furniture invite visitors to relax and engage in lively discussions about art, philosophy, and the beauty of the world. As the afternoon progresses, the artist adds another layer of color to their latest creation, their brushstrokes becoming bolder and more confident with each movement. The studio is a sanctuary where imagination knows no bounds and creativity flows like water from a fountain. Tucked away on a quiet street, an antique clock shop beckons with the promise of timeless treasures. Its display windows showcase an array of exquisite timepieces, each with its own unique charm and intricate design. Stepping inside, one is greeted by the comforting scent of aged wood and polished brass. Rows upon rows of clocks adorn the walls, their hands frozen in time, silently telling tales of bygone eras. From grandfather clocks with stately elegance to pocket watches with their compact charm, each clock is a testament to the enduring allure of traditional craftsmanship. The owner, a seasoned horologist, greets customers with a warm smile, sharing his vast knowledge and passion for these mechanical marvels. Whether one seeks a functional timepiece or a decorative masterpiece, the antique clock shop offers a captivating journey through the world of horology, where time stands still and elegance knows no bounds. And now we have a question for you. What story will you tell? Pick up our book from the description below to find out how these stories began. Our storytellers have been waiting for you. Thank you for listening and for being part of our story. We'll see you in the next one. Till then, keep writing your story.